Hi, my name is Bashir Hussain and I'm here to deliver a presentation on running your first steeplechase. My background is in biomechanics and I'm a level 4 coach. I have been a competitive athlete with podiums as a juvenile and as a senior in the steeplechase and in other endurance running events. It included winning the Manchester and the Hong Kong Marathon in the 1990s. But this isn't about me, this is about you and your first steeplechase. So moving on, I just want to show you some of the links just to give you a feel for the event and get you ready. So here we go, hopefully. Perfect. You can just see how your spike plate hits off the water jump barrier there, and also how the athletes flow over the hurdle, despite there being lots of people in the race. Quite often you'll find that they just naturally flow through the event. And then if we just have a look at, again, water jump athletes, there's several of them together, and they just flow over like a river. It's actually rare that people bump into each other. I know you do occasionally get a fall. The bumps are rare, and there we've got somebody practicing their hurdles, but we'll come back to that one later on. Okay, moving on. Your first steeplechase. Obviously, doing your first steeplechase, you'll need to warm up and do specific drills to get you ready for your event. And one of the things we find with juveniles is once they warm up, it's keeping them warm. And invariably during your warm up, you'll do some running, you'll do some conditioning samples, you'll do perhaps some hurdles work. You probably shouldn't need to be doing any barrier work during your first steeplechase. Hopefully you've done all that work beforehand, and that's really the point of this presentation, to help you with your preparation. And hopefully you'll remember some technical cues that you would have worked at with your coaches. And I'm going to give you some samples of conditioning drills, hurdles work, and a few more video samples to help you on your way. There's a classic stretching position there. The key things to remember there is that ideally we want a right angle between your lead leg and your trail leg, and also importantly you want your heel to be quite close to your backside or your buttock. The one key point that I should add there is actually when you go over hurdles, you don't normally have a straight leg, you want a bent leg so you can return to running as soon as possible. Okay, conditioning samples that we're going to talk about. Really, to prepare yourself for your steeplechase, you should be doing some downhill running. The reason for that is that it's similar to coming off barriers in the sense that there's a loading of the muscles in a similar way to coming off barriers. That's what downhill running gives you. Pogo jumps are a great way to start any middle distance session, and the sprinters will be doing them all the time. Squat jumps, lunge jumps, and hopping up steps in particular. With regards to specific hurdles work, we've got hurdle mobilization movements where perhaps just standing against the wall to amplify the normal movements and increase your range of motion. We'll look at some hurdle walkovers, perhaps some hurdle skips at the side, some hurdle isolation drills, and also some low hurdle rhythm runs. And then we'll talk about the step on barrier technique, which is usually a good place to start. And also it's always good to know that you can step on the barrier, particularly if you approach the barrier without confidence. Developing your technical processes, your strengths and your weaknesses, you should know what those are, and you should be working particularly to address weaknesses, but also working towards your strengths, probably particularly enjoyable. Your camera, buddy up and learn how to feedback. So really, when you go down to do technical sessions, you should have your telephone with you, and ideally give your telephone to your coach or to a partner to video your movements, and then you can look at them and get feedback, learn, move forwards. You should know a technical model. That's really what the presentation is about. You should visualize it and try to execute it to the best of your ability. The winter preparations, hopefully you've been practicing this throughout the winter. Little and often, they're the key terms. Little and often mobility work, little and often strength work, and little and often mini hurdle sessions, which might just mean, you know, a 2 to 5 minute hurdle session. It doesn't have to be a 45 or 90-minute session at all times. Just little and often, and you're more likely to remember it, more likely to move forward, and more likely to be successful. Your development plans, you should develop a plan so that you can have a positive first experience. You should have good functional mobility and flexibility, and you should be addressing absolute strength, which is about fast muscle recruitment, elastic strength, again, fast muscle recruitment, strength endurance, perhaps slower muscle recruitment, but ultimately you need it for all endurance events. Momentum coming off obstacles, and your ability to conserve that momentum. If you lose it coming off the hurdles, you've got to work hard to get the momentum back. So ideally, we want to lose as little as possible coming off the hurdles. We're back into our running, flowing along effectively. Energy expenditure ties in with the last point, really, but also knowing how to pace yourself effectively and minimising leakages, particularly with poor technique or bad running form. And then ultimately, if the last 2 points go well, your speed to the finish will increase positively rather than you slowing down negatively and being absolutely wasted, which I think we've all seen experiences of that. Conditioning, general conditioning to the upper and the lower body for all middle distance and endurance runners. You should have a good balance, as we already said, coming off the hurdles or the barriers. You should have good one-leg stability along with eccentric strength. Hills, regular downhill loadings to develop that eccentric strength. Ideally, we want you to be ambidextrous and be able to lead off your left or your right. But the most important thing is to be comfortable off one leg first. If you've been doing this since you were young, then you're likely to have developed lead leg preferences, and also ideally you'll be able to lead off either leg if you've been doing it as a youngster. And ultimately, by practicing hurdling and the drills, the sighting of barriers will become much easier. You'll become much more efficient. And ultimately, it's practice and training. If you do it, it does become easier. Looking at stretching, you can use a hurdle to enhance your ability to stretch here. And the key point in this stretch that's demonstrated is that the knee is higher than the ankle. That's key. And also, as you pull through the knee high. Hopefully that's fairly clear there. And also that balancing on the supporting leg will also develop strength for the future. The more you practice, the more you will be able to keep a square torso and keep your hips pointing forwards rather than twisting sideways. I want to show you a few more videos now about walkovers. Here we've got Lillian demonstrating hurdle walkovers. Notice that the knee is particularly high. Notice that the supporting leg is straight. She's balancing there on the forefoot, and what that causes her to do is, one, give her a bit more height to clear the hurdle more easily, but also it conditions the legs to have the strength to support her at the same time using her stomach muscles to pull up that knee as she's pulling it up to clear the hurdle. I'm just going to click on here to look at some of the walkover drills. Here we go. And again, I may pause these just to enhance the key technical points. Hopefully you will have done some of these yourselves, so there will be nothing too new. A moment there. There we go. So we're seeing these from a couple of angles, and we're also seeing a great facility at Athlone, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. Again, that high knee there is held in position and pulled over. And also, she's using her arms to coordinate the movement of the legs. And I can't emphasize that enough, particularly to endurance runners. It's important to use your arms to coordinate your legs. If you can, think of the arms first. Usually, the legs will follow in a nice coordinated fashion. Again, if you're struggling with these because you're not used to them, make the heights low. There's no reason why you can't do these over micro hurdles as well. But this is the bread and butter of hurdles work, and really, certainly for steeplechases, you're probably not familiar with this. They should be doing a lot more of it. Okay. This next video shows Lillian running over some low hurdles, and again, just looking to develop rhythm. That's the key thing here. Free stride pattern, but having rhythm. Very low hurdles, but hopefully over rhythm. And if I just put the sound on, there's a good chance to be able to hear the rhythm. Great job. And then once you've practiced, you may be able to move on to more specific drills. Now, this one stride drill is perhaps a bit more advanced, but I'll show you a couple of examples here of an experienced athlete, which is Paul Byrne in this example. And then I'll show you a beginner who's less experienced, and you'll see a clear difference of somebody perhaps jumping over the hurdles rather than running through them. Showed a great example of Paul running through them there. Lovely rhythm. Then I pull up my next example over here. Find it. There it is. So this young man is a relative beginner, and you'll see the difference in his technique. Doing the same drill here, but as a beginner. In slow motion there. And there we go. You see, there's a much more vertical movement there. Just pull on this next one. This is a more experienced steeplechaser there, doing the same drill. Again, somebody who's been at it for a couple of years here. But we can see and we can hear the rhythm. That's the key thing there. And what we've got there, we've got hurdles at the right height for the ability of the athletes. And as they get better, then we'll make them higher. But the key thing is rhythm, and obviously movement as well. But rhythm comes first. It's easier to work the movement around the rhythm. So always work towards rhythm first and foremost. Okay, going back to the slideshow now. What we've got here, we've got young athletes, age 15, 16, who practiced. He worked through the winter, this fella, and it improved significantly. And this photo sequence shows particularly well some of the key points. Keeping the heel close to the bum as he's hurdling, keeping the knee above the ankle as he's hurdling, and not having a straight knee as he's clearing the hurdle. And he does this quite significantly, and he does it significantly well. One other point I should add there is the pull through of the knee is pulled through high. So you can see particularly here, the knee is above the ankle and the knee is slightly above the hip. The knee again above the hip, and there it's coming parallel. He supports himself and gets back into his running. That's done very well. While this is a capable steeplechaser who can hurdle the barriers, as I've said earlier, you should aim to be able to step onto the barrier. And the next footage I want to show you is an example of somebody stepping on the barriers very successfully. If I just pull up the right video, I'll share that with you. And this is from the Irish Schools Championships of the winner last year. He actually steps on every single barrier. So I think it's worth seeing this. He did it very well and he became the All-Ireland champion, stepping on every barrier. There we go. And it pulls through. Looks like they're having problems with that one, so I might have to come back to that one. Well, that's rewinding. I might just play Lily Hand doing a side step overs, which is another drill that you could do. And again, the height of those is for the ability. And if you're doing them right, it feels like you're dancing. Good drills always feel like you're dancing. Look how high that knee gets as she's driving it over. That's mobility. It's going to help her hurdle effectively, drive through the knee over and over again. And obviously do that from both sides. This other hurdle set up yet. Use that one. Okay, looks like the Irish ones, the All-Ireland Schools, he's not playing ball at the moment. So in the meantime, I'm going to head back to my slideshow then. So the next thing after clearing barriers and hurdles is the water jump. It's one of the key things that a lot of people worry about, and I'm going to show you a photo sequence and some videos of those very things. So the key points for the water jump is to make sure your spike plate hits the 5-inch crossbar. You can see the top right hand photograph here. You're aiming for your spike plate to hit just across the central line, and we can see particularly in the final photograph there, as he's edging off the barrier, that his toenails are probably just in front of the barrier, but his actual spike plate is on top of the barrier. And what we're looking for there is an initial drive to hurdling a barrier. You can see there on the top left. spike plate landing just beyond the centre and then rolling over the barrier and keeping low to minimise the vertical height gain. The reason for that is the higher he goes vertically, he's got to come down and land, and that landing, that eccentric landing, is going to be significant in terms of fatigue if he's landing from too high a height. So you can see, particularly in the probably the last 2 or 3, he's almost sitting down there, and that's to keep his centre of gravity of his weight as low as possible, and then he can just push off that barrier and generate forwards momentum. Go to the next set of photographs. We can see that meandering out, and he's almost in a lunge position there, which is ideal. That's what we're after. Ideally, this should be vertical, but his head's looking forwards rather than looking down, and that's what we want. We want the athletes looking forwards and landing. Again, perhaps looking down a little bit, but he's looking forwards there and looking forwards there. The problem with looking down is that you might stumble or rotate forwards. And the reason you don't need to look down is, with experience, the more of these that you do, your peripheral vision will pick up the water and where you're landing. So although you might feel you need to look down, the reality is you don't need to look down. Your peripheral vision, with experience, will pick up what's happening. Okay, let's look at some videos now for some water jumps.
The action on the track, they come to the first barrier, all 8 athletes.
38?
I had the 1500 metres later that day.
Grand, yeah, it's fine. Give me your medal.
Anyway,
Conor Devan, yeah, in 4th place at the moment. Time is...
There's that classic position that we saw on the photo sequence. See that spike plate just about on. I'd say that's possibly a little bit on the far side, past the centre. Keeping 6 low and easing off into the sand. And through. The great thing about doing it into the sand is that it's a soft landing, it's dry landing on a cold night. Keep warm. So that's a better spike plate on the barrier that we can see there. Not really getting much purchase off that, so that as a result she's going down fairly quickly before she eases forwards. We've seen that one, so we'll push on. And we see this one. I think this may have gone with a photo sequence. No, it's not. Not this one. Keeping his head up, he's trying not to look down. Holding it. Sinks a little bit there. Maybe sometimes people try to overstride there, try and reach out of the pit. It's not always the best idea, because ultimately what it means then is you get a bit of jarring. So ideally we want to try and keep that step medium. We certainly don't want it long, because if it's long it will affect the rhythm. And if it's small or smaller, we can usually flow with it better. But that's relative to an athlete's mobility, flexibility, strength, and experience. There's a lot of things that come into play there. I think the one other point that I did want to say, we talked about common errors, and we talked about running downhill, and I think that's key. So I just want to show you briefly before we talk about common errors, is an example of downhill running.
The athlete should approach in an upright position, hips high and standing on the balls of their feet. The knee of the lead leg is forced upwards and the leg should slightly extend upon descent. The leg should return as quickly as possible to meet the ground. Note, when the lead leg is raised, the leading arm comes slightly across the body to maintain balance. Placed close together, the athlete will approach the hurdle standing tall in an upright position, standing on the balls of their feet. Hips, knees and ankles must be strong and the athlete must avoid collapsing their upper body. The lead leg is placed over the hurdle with the trail leg being pulled through. The trail leg now fully extends and becomes the leading leg, which should be immediately placed over the next hurdle. The athlete stands in the middle of the hurdles facing sideways. Keeping their hips and chest tall, the athlete drives their knees up and arms back while maintaining a light and bouncy rhythm between the hurdles. It is important to stay in the balls of their feet and the foot lands under the athlete's hip.
So we've got somebody really just jogging between these, but ultimately throwing the momentum forwards, pull that trail leg just at the side. Now you could do this through the middle, but this is what we call an isolation drill. This was mentioned in one of the PowerPoint trail leg. So we're just trying to isolate the trail leg here and obviously get the arm movement right. And doing a fairly good job of this on a wet day. I'd probably like him to pull his knee through a little higher than that. But as you can just about see there, he has got his knee higher than his ankle. So perhaps I'm being too fussy there. But what I do like about it is it's got rhythm. And if movement has got rhythm, the quality of training will improve, because sometimes you don't need to look at it, you can hear how well people are moving. We're summarising the main points of what we were looking to cover today. And that is, first of all, talking about the errors, common errors. If you're too high over the hurdle, usually it's because the athlete is too close to the hurdle. Sighting does get easy with experience. Ideally, we want a ratio of twice the distance before the hurdle and half the distance after the hurdle. So that might be 6 foot before it, 3 foot after it, or 2 meters before it, 1 meter after it if you're a bit taller. In terms of your takeoff distance to your landing distance, and that's so that you can get back into your running fairly promptly. Sometimes people are reluctant to have a forward lean. The advantage of a forward lean is it keeps your weight a little bit lower, so when you hit the ground, it will be with less of an impact. That's the idea behind that. Ideally, we should be driving with the knee, and as it suggests, if you've got poor coordination of your arms, it might be confusing the movement in the torso. Practice, practice, practice. That is why we're here. Hitting the hurdle with a trail foot, it doesn't happen often, but it does happen, and quite often it's because you've not everted your foot and your knee isn't above your ankle. And you just got to practice. Again, practice your mobility, practice flexibility, and in time it will come. As you're first starting out, you need to put in a lot more practice, but you will hold your mobility for much longer than you think. In the future years, it will stay with you, your muscle memory, make life easier. Landing off balance, lots of reasons for that. Twisting over the hurdle, sometimes we call it helicopter arms, which might cause a lot of longitudinal twisting forces and landing off balance. But there are other issues as well, like crossovers, but we'll talk about those next week. In terms of practicing for the future, flexibility, you could use a rope to monitor your progress, you could use a variety of things: walls, steps, fences, measure, you know, how far back you are, keeping a full foot on the ground, getting your knee against the wall. Many things, and I'm sure your coach will be in a position to help you with that. Again, if you get any questions, I will give you my email at the end where you can contact me. Endurance activities, I don't think there's too much that's new there, but invariably for hurdles and barriers, there's no reason why you can't put in some micro hurdles in some of your pace practice sessions or even your regular sessions. Race walking is a great activity for mobilising the hips. A hurdle grid is really good for feeling rhythm, and that's the case where you have perhaps 4 or 5 hurdles spaced at the same distance, and you just run through them, feeling the rhythm. Hills, smooth downhill runs of 10 to 30 seconds at sub-maximal pace. I'd usually start around about 3,000 metre or 1,500 metre pace, and as you get comfortable with them, then you might go for longer. And, you know, so going to 10 or 15 seconds, you might go for 30 seconds, jog backwards forward, running tall and flowing well, but getting the eccentric load on the legs, which is what you get as you're landing, coming off hurdles and barriers. Steps are great for working rhythm and also foot placements. And relays, fairly standard endurance session. At the bottom, I've put my short email address, bhussain@ait.ie. If you want to contact me with any questions or anything, feel free to do that and I'll get back to you. And that is an introduction to your first steeplechase. Hopefully you're looking forward to it now, and best of luck with your steeplechasing. I'll do another one of these in another week or so on developing steeplechase further, where I'll go a little bit deeper into some of the technical refinements that you can make as a steeplechase taking the event forward. Thank you.